Hello and welcome to Movies, Films, and Flicks. I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining me is a man that always has room for mavericks. It's David Cross.
We're talking about Top Gun, right? Or are we talking about the card movie? Which one is it?
Wait, there's a card movie?
Maverick?
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Oh, that one's so good. Danny Glover.
I saw that twice in the theater.
There's a scene in that movie where Mel Gibson lays on the ground and then Jodie Foster's like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm trying to take a nap." I don't know why, but that's always stuck with me. No Top Gun Maverick, no Maverick. We're talking about the movie that, Kelly, you're a Maverick. We don't have room for Mavericks in this line. What a beautiful... Listen, I love our Jaws knockoff series because Grizzlies is just so much fun. It's just so much fun, man. I love Grizzly. Like it's such a shameless knockoff. I mean, it came out in 76. Jaws came out in 75. So it was filmed quickly. But what makes this movie work is all the performances. I mean, you have an Oscar nominee in this movie. You have just a cast who's just absolutely committed. Like prior to this, Richard Jekyll, he was nominated for an Oscar. You have Christopher George. You have Andrew Prine, all good actors. And then you have an 18-foot bear in the poster, a 15-foot bear in the movie. Then you have a real 11-foot bear used for all the bear stuff. And David, what do you think about this movie?
This is a wild one. How do I even approach this? This is a movie that is approaching so bad it's good kind of for me. Like it's like in that 2 out of 4 star range, but some of the stuff that happens unintentionally is hilarious and I love it. Mm-hmm. If How This Gets Made covers this, I'd be 100% in. Like any of the other humor movie podcasts covered it, I'd be in. And at the same time, there's some things I absolutely really love about this, like the gore in Grizzly is over the top and really good and funny, and I kind of like this movie, and I also recognize it has a lot of flaws.
I mean, it's a super short film, so I mean, it's very easy to watch. Also, spoilers, at the end, Michael Kelly, park ranger, takes a rocket launcher and blows up a 15-foot grizzly bear, but doesn't just blow it up. It completely eviscerates every trace of it, because in the following moments when we see Don laying on the floor dead, on the floor, on the ground, dead, maybe dead, laying there, and Michael Kelly's walking over to him with real somber music playing. It's just a patch of fire from where the bear was, and there's no blood, no guts, no crocodile stuff, just a bare patch of grass and some fire. So that rocket launcher, David, completely eviscerated every single trace of that grizzly bear. And it's beautiful.
Yeah, that's not even the weirdest, funniest moment in the movie. Because you're right. There was no blood shower, right? If you blow something up, you should get a blood shower, a viscera shower. Funniest moment, the best moment, I think, for me, was when the bear attacked the
waterfall.
The water pole or the outpost? I don't even know what to call it. And it's like, so let me set the scene.
Oh, the watchtower?
The bear attacks the watchtower. And I think it's Tom's the character's name who's in it. And he just shakes it so much that it falls over and Tom falls out and the tower falls on top of him.
Yep.
And this is what, it's ridiculous. It's a crazy, crazy film scene because you're clearly shaking the camera instead of actually having him move around shaking. And the bear doesn't look 15 feet tall. In fact, he looks very small. Mm-hmm. But the thing that I laughed at so hard was throughout the entire film, they talked about how this bear's hungry. This bear needs to eat. It's attacking people because it's hungry. And the bear knocks Tom off this thing. And then the next scene, you just see Tom dead. The bear clearly didn't eat Tom. And so what that implies that the bear just didn't like Tom, just want to knock him out of the tower.
This bear is homicidal. It really is, because and you know what, dude? The bear has a sense of humor as well, because when Arthur Scott, basically the hunter of the movie, the Quint of the movie, super sassy, loves sandwiches, he gets attacked by the bear. Actually, his horse gets decapitated. Clean through. One bear strike decapitates a horse. Arthur Scott gets hit. Arthur Scott is presumed dead and knocked into a hole. The bear buries him with a bunch of loose dirt. Then Arthur Scott gets up, and you're like, oh man, Arthur's gonna live. This is great. The bear comes back and just kills him.
I laughed at that moment too, because I was like, is he playing dead? It's like, oh no, he was actually knocked out.
And gets up, and then he dies. And this is a bear, a 15-foot bear that's 2,000 pounds. That Arcodus ursus horribilis, which they just sort of made up for the movie, but it's still amazing. And it goes into a waterfall, sneaks its way up, and then just grabs a park ranger who decided to go for a nice watery jaunt while looking for backpackers. But the stealth of this bear, this 2,000-pound, 15-foot bear, is unbelievable. And it just, but like, I gotta tell you, man, this movie, there's humor in it though. Like you can tell that the main characters like each other a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's competently shot. I mean, William Girdler, if you look at his IMDb page, he had directed a decent amount of movies beforehand. And we actually covered The Manitou on the podcast, which is about a woman who has a growth on her neck, and it turns out to be like an evil being, and it like grows out of her neck. If you haven't watched it, listen to the episode and then rent it. I think it's like $1.99. But this guy knew knockoffs. He directed knockoffs. He understood knockoffs. So he goes to the forests of Atlanta. They build that watchtower. Not Atlanta, of like Georgia. They build the watchtower. They have really good locations to shoot at. They find veteran actors who have pretty much been in everything. And then they just, like, they're all acting their faces off in this movie. But then it's just like slasher Jaws 101. And it just put a huge smile. Like, it's like a competently made movie, I believe. But then it's so low budget, and they had to shoot it so quick and release it so quick that it still has a lot of weird personality. I mean, arms get knocked off, children get slaughtered. This is our second movie in a row where a child is killed. Yeah. It's like super gory, but then it's kind of funny. But then you have a bad kind of Jaws mayor type character. I mean, you even have a scene ripped directly from Jaws where there's a man drinking a beer and there's a woman. The woman looks at the man and she goes, "Hey," and she goes into the tent. And the dude's smiling, takes a sip of beer, goes to go into the tent with her, but she gets killed by a bear. It's man, it's such a shameless knockoff, but it has better performances than almost what it deserves. But I think that's sort of the William Girdler special. I mean, this guy had worked with Pam Grier, like this guy had worked with big names, so it's an odd package. But I can see why it made $40 million, David, because it came out the following year. So this is kind of like when I Know What You Did Last Summer came out after Scream, and those movies made money. Like, this was one of the first knockoffs, and it's still a lot of fun, man.
Yeah, I totally get that. Yeah. Wow. I'm trying to think of like some of the crazier things that I laughed at or I thought was really interesting. And when I was watching this movie, it starts with like, how do I describe this? I know. Upbeat, tranquil music.
Yep.
That is what the subtitles call it. And it's odd for the rest of the movie because it feels like it's an adventure movie. It's like jaunty, Poseidon adventure-esque. And then 10 minutes in, these two women get murdered by a bear. And so the music the music's good. Doesn't quite go with the film. It's kind of odd. I still like it.
Yeah. And it's very long opening credits too.
Oh yeah, and you're right. And it's an opening credits where the helicopter pilots states the theme of the film. At least I think it's the theme of the film. It's really hard to say, but he's basically like, we have to protect this land. And yeah, I get that, but I don't feel like the rest of the film follows up with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The rest of the film is just about the bear. It's not like we should leave this land alone. It's no, we need to protect this land so other people can use it. And then it just doesn't fit together. And he's also talking to senators, and it's like, of course the senators knows what's happening in this national park. You're just talking to the camera at this point.
Yeah, they just wanted to get some good aerial footage, and they tossed a couple lines in, right?
Yeah. I mean, what I was thinking about is that they were probably setting up the introductory. They're like, oh, here's this gorgeous park. It's great. And this is why these people all want to be here. It's a tourist spot. And that's sort of probably what's happening, but I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah.
And then the music stops and it kicks into what is almost certainly a Friday the 13th knockoff theme. Then it transitions sort of to a horror movie. And this is the part where I was absolutely sold on this film. This Grizzly treats the bear as if it has like chainsaw arms. You know what I mean? It's like one swipe decapitates a woman. One swipe takes her arm off, gets rid of a horse's head, a kid's leg. Like Grizzly with chainsaw arms, or maybe machete arms. Mark, actually, yeah. And you know what? This is a very MMF thing. Would you rather be chased by a grizzly with a chainsaw arm or a grizzly with a machete arm?
Okay, this is let's see. If it had machetes, it would just stick into the ground, correct? Or has it found a way to work around that? Is it running on its hind legs?
If not, let's just assume it's found a way to work around it.
Oof. I don't want to die by chainsaw. Give me a machete. Dying by chainsaw just sounds horrible, David. Like it's. No, yeah. Give me machetes.
Here's my thinking on this. Apropos, extemporaneous. The bear is really sneaky. So if you give a sneaky bear a chainsaw, give a sneaky bear a chainsaw, you're gonna be able to hear it more. So you could probably get away better. Yeah. Give a sneaky bear a machete doesn't make any noise. It's probably gonna kill you anyway. So I think I would rather go up against the chainsaw bear. The con though is it's pretty brutal if he catches you. You're right.
It's like high risk, high reward. Like I don't want to die by chainsaw, but I could also probably hear it from a quarter mile away.
Exactly. Yeah. Unless it starts up right behind you with one turn.
No.
Oh, I failed.
It kills me with a blunt machete, or a blunt chainsaw that's not even running. Like that would be. Oh no, thank you. But this bear too. They kind of like, this bear, it's an ancestor from like 1 million years ago, and they're clearly not being serious. But they're like, the bear keeps circling around, going back to its first kills. But the thing's never really explained. Like they talk about hunting habits and everything, and it's being chased away from its land from some development. But I just love how they just yada yada things about it. And it just makes me so happy.
Yeah, I watched this movie twice, and the first time I didn't understand it, and the second time I think I have a better understanding, and you tell me if this is what's going on. So there's the high country, is what I'm going to call it. And it sounds like Kelly and Scotty organized to get all the bears from the low country to the high country. And once those bears were pushed into the high country, the grizzly bear, the big papa bear, ran out of food and started coming down to the low country where all the vacationers were. That's the only thing I can make sense of this. Like otherwise, I do not understand what's going on.
Yeah, I didn't even pick up on that.
Yeah, it's literally told through like 3 different lines of dialogue throughout the first half of the movie, because they're back, and they're like, we got rid of them.
Yeah, I guess it's all just an excuse. Well, the reason they came up with this movie is because the writer and the what was it, Flaxman or Sheldon, they were in the woods and they saw a bear and they're like, what if a bear attacked, just roaming around, and then they're like, Jaws knockoff, and then they wrote it in a week. So yeah, I think
they were like, they came up with this movie when Jaws hit, and they're like, Jaws is big, let's make a movie.
It's like
they're probably just sitting in a room, literally in a room. What's scary? Well, bears, cougars. What's a big animal with sharp teeth?
Where can we shoot in Georgia? Exactly. Not on the coast. But yeah, it's such. Yeah, they were just looking to make a knockoff. But you know what's interesting about this movie though is they built the watchtower. They went deep into the woods to find the waterfall. They had massive dolly track. They actually got an 11-foot bear that was somewhat trained to be on set. So it's really interesting. This is a very interesting movie for me because I think that there's a lot of talent in front and behind the camera, but they had to shoot it so fast, and I think everyone knew exactly what they were shooting. Everyone on that film set knew that the idea of the waterfall death was just dumb, or just like almost comically funny. And then the kid scene, the rocket, like we're going to blow up this grizzly bear with a rocket launcher. Anytime a script ends with that, I think everyone gets the tone of the movie. And but it's like it's kind of an odd thing where is this movie bad? Is this movie bad? I don't think it's bad. I just think it's good at being a Jaws knockoff.
Yeah, it's hovering in that. Again, I think I'm going back to this. It's hovering in like 50% ranger for me. It's like it knows what it wants to be and it does what it wants to be. But there are also still moments where I'm like, there's an awful lot of walking in this movie.
Yeah, a lot of walking. And Kittredge and Kelly just yell at each other all the time. And it's like, I brought you in, you're a maverick. Oh, I'm a part of these woods. Oh, you've pushed it too far. Like it's 10 minutes of them yelling at each other in an office. And I get that keeps the budget down because you don't have to go out on location. But the Kittredge character is just so unnecessary because he's just the mayor from Jaws. And he finally relents when the child is slaughtered by the bear. But yeah, a lot of this movie, you could just fast forward through the guys yelling at each other inside of the office.
Get back to the bear.
Yeah, I mean, keep Scott eating the sandwich. Like, go eat your sandwich outside. Like, I don't know why he told him to do that. But you know what's interesting too? This is kind of a cynical movie, though. You have Kelly, who they're talking about all the idiot hunters out there. They're talking about all the backpackers. Then you have Don Stober in his speech about Vietnam and how he, you give people nicknames to not make it personal, but it got personal, and he doesn't want to ever kill again. You have Arthur Scott who wants to die in the woods. Like, you have these three like grown kind of cynical men, and at the end, Scott and Stober are dead. Stober presumably. Don, you think he's dead, and then Michael Kelly blows up a bear, and there's no heroic music. It's down, like, beat, dour music as he goes to walk to his friend who may or may not be dead. It's a very, like, remember at the end of Jaws, they're laughing when it's Dreyfus and Brody.
Yeah.
Like, those two guys are laughing. Like, they're swimming, they're laughing, they just blew up a shark. This one's depressing. It's just such an odd experience, man. But
we talk about explosions in these Jaws ripoffs, because I had this realization and I was like, are we gonna just watch a bunch of big animals get blown up? Because that seems to be the way to get rid of a big animal, blow it up.
Yeah, like even if it's piranhas, let's get all the piranhas in one spot and blow them up. Let's get this bear and let's blow it up. Let's blow up this alligator. Let's blow up this shark. Yeah, pretty much everything gets blown up. We just blow them up.
Kill it by fire. And I was watching this movie, and I think we're gonna call this, like, this is a B movie, but we're talking like an A movie. Would probably give the characters the rocket launcher, and then have the rocket launcher fail, right? So like they miss with the one shot they have, and the bear's still coming out for them, and then find another way to kill it. And I was thinking in my head, I was like, well, how would you do that? And what I would have loved to see if they had a bigger budget would have been helicopter versus bear. Like Don's gonna have to like crash the helicopter into him with the rotors running, so he pushes the bear into it.
Whoa, like 28 weeks later.
28 weeks later. Oh yeah. Or one of the Underworld's too, right?
Yeah.
That would have been fun. But yeah, it just got to me. I was like, oh, a lot of these movies are gonna be kill them with fire, blow them up, and I was like, I hope we find one that they find a different way around it.
Well, let's do that though, because Deep Rising, they blow up the thing. Underwater, have you seen Underwater? I don't want to talk about that.
Yeah, so I've definitely seen Underwater. Okay. It's awesome.
Explosion. Deep Blue Sea, the finale, there's an explosion. Jaws, there's an explosion. Crawl, at the end, she kills a gator by getting her hand bit while she has a gun in her hand.
So good. That's
pretty cool. Let's see. I think Piranha 3D, they blow up the piranha, and then they cover up the hole where they were in. So I'm trying to
what happens in Lake Placid?
Well, they capture it and then they transport it. Remember, it's on the flatbed
That's
truck.
right. That's right. So that's one where they don't blow it up. It's like the opposite of this movie.
Yeah. Let's see. Primeval, I'm not sure how that dies. Anaconda, how does this? John Voight gets eaten. I don't know if they blow up. They blow up a bridge and that blows up a ton of snakes. I'm not sure how the Anaconda dies at the end of Anaconda.
I'm willing to bet it's an explosion.
Yeah. I think Relic maybe is an explosion. Oh, Alien. I mean, Aliens and Alien, she has the flamethrower. It breaks. Then she has to go get a power loader. Then she has to suck it out into space. So that's kind of an A monster movie ending that I would give that to. But yeah, I mean, this one doesn't have time for that. They have Chekhov's rocket launcher. They give it to Michael. They give it to Kelly, and he just blows it up completely.
It's very unceremoniously too.
There is nothing left of that bear. Nothing, and it makes me so happy. But see, okay, can we talk about art for a second?
Yeah.
All right. So when you're reviewing this movie, when you're grading this movie, I think you can't. Do you grade this as a film or do you grade this as a knockoff? Does that make sense? So I think some people watch this and they're like, this movie sucks. It's not 2001. Yeah. It's not Clockwork Orange. And you're kind of thinking, that's not the point. Like, I review this movie as a Jaws knockoff, a B picture. How would you review it?
Yeah, I review films generally as all films as films, but I review it in the intent of the movie, or what I believe the intent of the movie is. The intent of this movie is to get something out quickly. It's low budget, So I kind of just look at it as I honestly, I'm pretty forgiving in reviews. I'm pretty forgiving in reviews unless a movie comes out and like the marketing and the directors and the writers are really like, this is the best movie ever made. I'm going to be super forgiving. If you set yourself up for like, I want to win an award, I'm trying to make high art, I'm going to come in with my claws out.
Got it. So a movie like I think there's a thing called This Had Oscar Buzz. And there was like Captain Corelli's Mandolin. Like, these movies come out that are Oscar buzzy, that want to win Oscars, and then you watch it and they destroy your soul. So so those, I guess, when it's marketed like that. But for me, like, when you watch The Marine 5, you can't just say this movie sucks. Like, this is the 5th movie in the Marine franchise, which has never technically been very good. So for a Marine movie, it's fine, if that makes sense. So. I guess can we do this on the Jaws knockoff scale? Maybe you and I can start a spreadsheet or a letterboxed page.
We do. I think we did this last time, but yeah.
Like, so on the Jaws knockoff scale. So what did we give Crocodile? We gave it an 8 or 9, or Alligator. We gave that an 8 or 9, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So Alligator is the 8 or 9. What is Grizzly?
5 or 6.
Yeah.
It's closer to Jaws than Alligator, but Alligator has a lot more humor in it and like funny moments, and I think it's just a superior movie across the board.
Yeah, all across the board. Yeah. Do you want to come look at my rock collection?
My thinning hair thing still good.
Oh yeah, I mean that movie's and then I'm gonna go kick an alligator's ass. Like, that's funny. So
yeah,
I think you're right. I think this not on the Stanley Kubrick scale. Or the Kurosawa scale, but on the Jaws knockoff scale, you're right. I think this is a 5 or 6. Because
do you think most of them are going to hit this range, like 5 or 6? Like, did we go in hot with Alligator, and now we're going to be around the 5-6 range?
I do think so, but the problem with Alligator is that it had time. So it had 5 years to get made. This one, I feel like someone watched Jaws. It became a summer blockbuster, and they went, go, 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 make. And so they just had to run out and do it. So Alligator had time to have a script, and it had a budget as well. So, like, it's a completely different experience. But I think we did, you and I, we started hot. We started with top of the line Jaws ripoff. So yeah, I think, Piranha I have really high hopes for, because it's Joe Dante. It's like Roger Corman crew. It's Phil Tippett, who is an amazing stop motion puppeteer, worked on it. So I have very high hopes for Piranha, and I'm looking forward to that. And I also have about 8 other movies I bought from Kino Lorber that I might just do a letterboxed page where I do Jaws knockoffs from the 70s.
Was the final movie we're going to do Deep Star 6? I can't get it to stick in my brain.
Yeah, Deep Star. Is it Deep Star 6? No.
I don't know. I can't get it to
it's
stick in my brain.
underwater. It's deep. Is it Deep Star 6?
Deep Rising.
No, oh, that one's beautiful. Yeah, Deep Star 6.
We're looking it up because we can't get it to stick. I literally can't get it to stick.
Oh yeah, and right now you can watch it for free. I bought it. I saw it on Kino Lorber, so I was like, I'm just gonna go get this thing because I just love monster movies. Oh yeah, I can't wait. But yeah, I think this is a 5 or 6. Like Leviathan, Leviathan's like a 5 or 6. So yeah, it's just this one doesn't have but it's so low budget, and I think it's well made. But the animal makes no sense. You know what it is? In Alligator, the animal makes sense, David. It's like just it ate toxic waste and it survived and it mutated because of growth hormones. This bear is not really explained at all. So, I gotta watch Tentacles too. And The Last Shark. Do you know the guy who produced this? Did you hear about the court case for this movie?
I read that it existed and I couldn't track down any information. So if you have it, you tell me.
Yeah, so I was reading about this, and the producer, Edward L. Montaro, he was like, yeah, I'm not going to pay you guys for this. And he took off to Europe. But eventually they put a lawsuit, they settled it, and then he came back and he produced another Girdler movie, which was, where is it? The Day of the Animals. So Day of the Animals is about the ozone layer depleting and animals go a little batty, and so do humans. And Leslie Nielsen goes insane, murders a guy, attempts to rape a woman, then fights a bear.
Let's talk about Leslie Nielsen. No, really. So when I was researching the director, two things stuck out to me. The first one is Day of the Animals. That movie keeps popping up in multiple things I've tried to research. I have never seen it. I'm going to have to put it on my list. So Day of the Animals. 2, Leslie Nielsen. The director of this film also directed Leslie Nielsen in a serious role. I think it's called Project Kill. And I'm going to go watch that. Because I was like, Leslie Nielsen in a serious role. Hell yeah.
And Killer Elite. It's a Killer Elite ripoff.
Yep.
So I love that they were kind of like, all right, here's a popular movie. Let's rip it off with Leslie Nielsen.
You know what I think's funny? Yeah. I think it's funny that I'm laughing already. The producers didn't want to pay the director, and it's not really ironic because they're making rip-off movies. It's like, can you really trust a bunch of people who are making rip-off movies?
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, I mean,
I know I wouldn't have worked with the guy again.
No, absolutely not. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, listen, yeah, the guy's making knockoff movies. But you know what, though? I bet you that guy never anticipated how much money this movie was going to make.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think when they were in Georgia shooting Grizzly, I don't think everyone looked at each other and just said, you know what? This movie is going to make $40 million around the world. Then be played on TV nonstop throughout the 70s and 80s. So I bet everyone thought like, we'll just get paid, whatever. We won't make much money. And then it blew up. So I bet you the guy just went, I'm not giving this to anybody. I'm rich. Because that's...
Yoink!
You think about inflation. That's probably 100 mil right now. 80 mil at
absolutely.
Least. So, all of that didn't go in the guy's pocket. But I kind of love they just took off for Europe. And then he rejoined later to shoot a movie with them. Which makes with most of the same cast. It just makes me so happy. And also has Leslie Nielsen fighting a bear that shrinks in size.
I have to get that one and watch that one.
And you know what's cool about the poster art for Grizzly is I managed Comic-Cons from 2010 till 2016. And while working on Comic-Cons, Neil Adams was there, famous comic book artist, illustrator. Very huge name in the industry. He drew the Grizzly poster. So
no wonder it looks awesome.
Yeah, the design of the poster was made by Neil Adams, which makes me happy. I actually, he had been doing conventions for so long. I think he'd get kind of surly, but he and his wife were like really nice because at the end of the night I had a megaphone, and I'd walk around going, "The show floor is now closed. Please start making your way to the exit." And I would just say that over and over and over again and really get people annoyed. And then I would do announcements like the show floor is closing in 30 minutes. But then I would wait 10 seconds and I would go, "Thanks." So Neil Adams, whenever I walked by him, he'd always be like, "Thanks." Or "The show floor is now closed." So we became buds. He's since passed away, but when I read that, it made me so happy. Like, I wish I would have watched this, known it, so I could have had him sign that for me. That'd have been really cool to have a signed Grizzly poster by Neil Adams. That'd be awesome. So, I know, I just want to put that story out there because once I read that, I mean, I love the poster art for this movie. It looks beautiful.
It sells the movie, honestly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like I can imagine seeing the art, walking by it, and be like, I gotta see this movie. Big bear.
That bear's giant, and he's gonna eat a camper. Yeah, but you know what? Like, I think this movie. Oh man, this is a movie where a baby bear is eaten.
Yeah, brutal. Do not like that. And the horse really got to me, but the baby bear was most of it.
I mean, but you know, the only reason I think it somewhat works is because everyone said we have these idiot hunters out here. You let these guys are just going to shoot each other, and they went out there just looking for money, and then they did that. Like, I feel like yes, it's exploitative, and a beautiful baby cub in the movie dies, but I feel like idiots like that would do something like that, and then it would go horribly wrong. So, as cynical as this may sound, it seems somewhat believable that would happen, if that makes sense. So it didn't totally crush my soul, but I definitely did not like that. I mean, this is kind of a cynical flick, man. Kids are killed.
It's
Baby cubs are killed. You have speeches about Vietnam.
And Native American death, which it's not nearly as good as Clint's speech, and I also don't think it makes quite sense.
Well, because they never talk about it again.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing that made Clint's speech good is that it was giving background on his character. And so the writer completely missed that when they were talking about, well, there's a tale of a bunch of grizzlies. And like, if the twist would have been, oh no, there's two grizzlies, giant grizzlies. All right, rad. That's awesome. Mm-hmm. But no, there wasn't anything. They just sort of like threw it in there to try to give an explanation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're like, there's eating children. They ate the little children, the 6 ones, everybody. And then like a gang of grizzlies is just killing people, and then there's a whole herd of man-eating grizzlies just running around eating people. But yeah, then it doesn't really come back. So that's why this movie's a 5 or 6 for me, is because I mean, they wrote this in a week. So
I mean, as someone who writes a lot, let me tell you, if you could write this in a week and get it made, you're a success. If you're paying your bills, with this, you're a success. I know we're making fun of it, but these guys are professionals because they sold it and they shot it, and it's in the theater, and we're talking about it.
Absolutely. And, you know, I think that's probably the biggest problem. I mean, when you have to rush to make a film that doesn't even have a script yet. Like, this movie, some guy, you know, there wasn't a thing called knockoff pictures where a guy goes, okay, what hit? What script? Hey, there's a shark movie that's popular. Okay, what do we got? What's that? What's close? But this one had to be written. Then it had to be cast, and like, I love it so much, but the writing process, there's no time to develop anything. So yeah, like you said, they were successful in creating a somewhat reasonable film with a very unnecessary photographer character that doesn't play much of a role in the movie.
What happens to her? She just like disappears.
Yeah, and they set up a whole alligator situation too, kind of like the plucky photographer and the plucky ranger, but then she never comes back.
Yeah, I wish I understood. She was like, hey, she's gone. Okay.
I think they just needed that kind of character, maybe?
Yeah. The ground Kelly, I think.
Yeah, to kind of give him give him someone to chat to and be zippy with, I guess. But yeah, she disappears in the movie, and it ends super bleak. But
so I want to run through some of my notes just to see what you think about them.
Okay.
If that's okay with you.
Oh, then let me do it too, because I love it.
Yeah. So one of the notes I have here, and I literally wrote down, this movie is trying very hard to be titillating. But here's the thing, it's not. It's absolutely not. And what's crazy to me that there's all this gore and there's no nudity. Like for an exploitation movie in the 70s, I thought there would be a ton more nudity. But it just alludes to nudity.
Yeah. You have even that ranger when she goes behind the waterfall. I mean, it's still very gratuitous, but she's still just in her underwear. So like it's still very gratuitous to have that, but they could have gone more, I guess. I mean, they shouldn't be patting themselves on the back, but yeah, it's a weird one where there's super violence of baby cubs and children.
Yeah.
And women, and then it doesn't exploit further things. It's an odd decision.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's the right decision.
Yeah.
Actually, it's just we're not used to seeing it.
Well, look at the box office.
The men in this movie make a lot of jokes about dead people, and just like they aren't phased. Like Scotty is told that 2 women die, and he has no emotional response to that. None. He's just like, okay, well, bears don't do that. And you're like, what? Yeah. About halfway through this movie, I thought it was a man in a bear suit, and I was disappointed it wasn't a man in a bear suit.
Oh, like a serial killer, like a serial killer. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I was like, I mean, I know it doesn't quite make sense because they started off early on saying he has to be 2,000 pounds, but I was like, oh, man in a bear suit would have been really funny. Go ahead.
Oh gosh. And can I read one of my notes to you before you
go ahead?
I wrote, he lives, then dies. LOL. I wrote that about Arthur Scott. That's my note right there.
What a fake out.
It's so mean.
Because they get you because he's like, oh man, he's gonna be the hero. He's gonna come in and save the day, and then he just dies.
And I have walking shots written 5 times in my notes just to give
so
you a
many
heads up.
walking shots.
Yeah.
I wrote
foot chase.
Oh yeah, that's a pretty funny foot chase, especially when he runs up the rock and then slides down the tree like it's a pole.
Yeah.
Because it's not that far, right? It's like 8 feet. It's really not that far.
That guy's smart though. I like his style. He just ran, the hunter.
Smart, yeah. I wrote down the dialogue is bizarre and fake hick. like there's lines in this I'm like, you're just making phrases up to sound like you're in the country. Like one of them was like, well, ain't you a big bag of grits?
Yeah.
Like, oh.
Yeah, it's someone from New York writing a line about what someone in Georgia would say. Oh man, I do like that line where he said, if you feel a wet snout in your face, whatever you do, don't move and don't kiss it back because it ain't me. Yeah.
That is pretty funny.
Yeah, that's I don't know. It's this big bag of grits. You have and then you have the guy you have the interesting dialogue scene between the restaurant owner and his wine prices and his daughter.
And an awesome ascot, by the way.
Oh man, I like his style though. He doesn't charge a lot for booze.
Yeah, and he never comes back. I'm like, this guy's awesome. There's all these characters that you're setting up and they just disappear.
They had no time, probably. I mean, shooting on a limited budget with a bear, and I read somewhere, I couldn't back this up, that they had a puppet, but the puppet rusted, so they couldn't use it. So I don't know if that's true or not. But I bet you the majority of this film is just trying to get the bear not to maul anybody.
Yeah. What did I wrote some things about the campers that were like kind of funny. So the first two women come walking in, they're like, oh, I'm so tired. They just got back from a hike, but then there are fires going, and I'm like, you just walked off with the fire going?
Yeah, that was bad.
And then the hunters, they didn't set anyone up to watch for the bear at night, and then one of them gets killed in their sleep, and I was like, well, you didn't take precautions. What are you doing?
Well, didn't they say they set out a bunch of idiots out there?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I love it.
And then I guess my final note, I have 2 more. One is I do like Scotty's character because it's a different dynamic than Clint, or even a different dynamic than an alligator, because it's someone who's trying to save the big creature instead of kill it.
Mm-hmm.
And in a lot of these movies, it's just, again, blow it up with fire. So it's a little bit different. And I think I've said this in like every big monster movie. I kind of want a monster movie where the monster wins.
Yeah. And, I guess the problem with this movie with this bear is it won't stop, but they never explain it. The alligator at the end of Alligator had to get blown up because it was mutated by a pharmacy company. And this one, it's still going to keep murdering people. I guess if you're going to blow up a big animal, I guess this is the way to do it, because the guy had no choice and someone tried to save it. But yeah, I would like to see underwater Cthulhu rises and takes over the world.
Yeah.
But no.
Any more notes? I ran through mine.
Well, do you want to do our draft, our draft featuring bears that are not friendly?
Let's do our top 5 moments, and then do that.
Yeah, let's do it. All right, so my top. I'm going number 1. I'm doing it. Sorry to jump ahead.
You're going from one 5-1, right?
Okay. So we'll go. Oh, so I can't use that now. So I guess what I'll do is I love the smile between Michael Kelly and Don, Christopher George and Andrew Prine when he's talking about don't fall asleep if a wet snout touches you, because the two of them just look at each other like they really like each other. And that's my number 5, because you could tell the actors did enjoy hanging out together. So that's my number 5.
Okay, that's a good one. My number 5 is the tranquil, upbeat music because it's so odd. It's an odd pairing, but I really did dig it. I was like, oh, I'm having a good time. In fact, in my notes, it says, this movie goes from kid movie to slasher movie real quick.
Oh, so quick.
It's mostly because of the tranquil, upbeat music.
Oh man, it does get you fast. I love it. Oh, I guess my number 4 is when Kelly tells Scott to stop eating a sandwich in the off. Like I don't know why he's like, go eat your sandwich outside. Like it's just a very random line, and I want to know more about this sandwich. So that's my number 4.
I mean, what was he eating? Probably just a bologna sandwich. Like this guy doesn't look like someone who's going to eat anything fancy. It's like turkey, bologna, and that's it. There's no third option.
So I don't know why he's not allowed to eat in this place. It's odd.
My number 4 is the Grizzly's machete-like arms because it's what the gore comes from, and it's just really funny. Like I did look up, Grizzlies do have really long claws, but they're treating these things like they're
Freddy Krueger.
like machetes.
Yeah, listen, a grizzly bear could easily kill a horse, but a grizzly bear could not decapitate a horse with one swipe. I'm just putting that out there.
Yeah.
So my number 3 is the waterfall scene because it's so dumb. The lady just goes up behind a waterfall and the bear sneaks up on her and snags her. It's so stupid.
In the arm, it's clearly someone in a bear suit. They're bear arms too.
Oh, it's so wonderful. Yeah, so that's my number 3.
All right, my number 3 is the really hackneyed dialogue. I know I was making fun of it, but it's also kind of funny, and I am gonna use that bag of grits line in the future. Like, what, you big old bag of grits. Expect that another podcast.
Oh yeah, it's a big old bag. I live in Atlanta. I can use that on people.
Oh, okay.
I love when Kittredge is talking about one of the park rangers dying, and they're like, yeah, we should send flowers to their family.
Oh.
It's so jerky. It's such like an evil boss thing to say. Well, yeah, just send flowers. Wow. So yeah, that's my number 2.
My number 1 is Tom's death. It's so good. It's the highlight of the movie for me. The tower being knocked over. It just so we've talked about it, so I don't want to go into too much, but like it's a ridiculous scene, and I wish I would have thought of it.
Oh, it's beautiful. Well, then I'm gonna go with rocket launcher, number 1.
Okay, yeah, that's a good one.
And we've talked about it ad nauseum, but those are 2 great kills. They built the tower for that gag, and they had a massive explosion, so that's what makes me happy. They built a tower for it, which makes me very happy. So,
my number 1. I know you're like, how can you top the tower death, right? How can you top it? My number 1 is very handsome bears. I want to give those bears a hug. I love those bears. Big old puppy dogs.
Oh man, I love it.
Yeah. I was looking, I was like, oh, it's hard for me to think these bears are going to kill people because they're so handsome. I know they're dangerous, but in my head, I'm like, oh, you want a pet?
I want to hug the baby cub.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Oh, it's so cute.
Yeah.
Well, I was not, fun, man.
Yeah, I was pretty happy when those hunters got it because they put the baby cub out. I was like, oh. Wait, no, they didn't, did they? Maybe this movie would have been better if they had.
Wait, if they let the baby cub live?
No, yeah, I was really mad at the hunters when they put the baby cub out, and I'm now trying to remember, did the bear get the hunters after that? I don't think so.
No, because you don't really see much of them after that.
Yeah, that would have been a great comeuppance for the movie, at least, you know.
Yeah, the 3 of them you see 3 heads flying. So remember in Jason Lives when Jason decapitates 3 people at once?
Yeah.
The bear decapitates all 3 of them with one swipe.
Yeah, so this is a fun movie. Do you want to jump into the bear draft?
Yeah, let's do it.
The bear necessities draft.
So you're gonna love my first pick.
Okay.
Homerton the Screaming Bear from Annihilation.
Yeah, I knew that was going to be one of the top ones, 100%. And it's terrifying. It's a terrifying creation.
I had to do it. We covered it on the podcast. I just love Homerton. And I love that's the name for it. They thought Paddington, so they went to Homerton, and it's just a gross, screaming, gross bear. So that's my number one pick.
I think this is going to be one that's always on this list too. I haven't seen it in a long time, but when the movie The Edge came out,
Oh, Bart the Bear.
I thought it was awesome.
Yeah.
So awesome. And so I'm going to add it to this and make a mental note to check it out again.
I mean, Anthony Hopkins, a Baldwin, getting attacked by a grizzly bear.
Yeah, Harold Perrineau.
Getting killed.
Yeah. I remember it being a rad movie.
Yeah, they put a big budget behind that. Like that's a official film right there. But since Bart the Bear was the actor, I'm gonna do The Great Outdoors. Have you heard about Have you seen The Great Outdoors?
I've seen it. I have seen it. Yeah.
Remember the bear gets bald, it becomes bald because it gets his head shot with a shotgun, and at the end it gets shot in the butt with a shotgun, and it tears all the hair off. So you have a bald butt bear, like a bald bear that also has like a bear butt. And remember it jumps on the door and starts smashing on John Candy. And it's just absolutely hilarious. But it's like the bald bear is what they called it. And so we have two Bart the Bear appearances. We have The Great Outdoors and The Edge.
I'm gonna do one that I think I'm doing it because I think the scene's really, really funny. It's the bear from Jackass Forever.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, the bear isn't like super mean in it, but that scene is so, I laughed so hard. And then I was like, oh no, like that guy's really going in to get the bear because he's scared.
Yeah, I can't believe they did that. Oh man, poor Aaron. That was perfect though. That's a perfect one. I mean, it's not a mean bear, but they're using the bear to scare somebody. Oh, that's insane. What a crazy moment. All right, that was perfect. I'm going to do okay. I'm going to do something weird, and I hope you're okay with this. Nick Cage in a bear suit in The Wicker Man.
Oh, I'm taking that 100%.
All right.
Of course. I'm never going to turn Nick Cage in a bear suit down.
I mean, he knocks out somebody, gets in a bear suit, runs around for a long time, and then runs up to a lady and knocks her out. It's beautiful and it's insane. So Nick Cage in a bear suit is my third pick. Yeah, third pick.
Wow, that's a good one. The question is, do I follow that up with the boyfriend from Midsommar in a bear suit?
Oh yes, please do.
Because that's a person, someone I really don't want to be around because he's the worst.
Oh, he's the absolute worst.
I'm doing that. Yeah, I wasn't on my initial list, but let's do it.
Oh man, I also had 13th Warrior because I love that movie where they dress up like bears and everyone thinks they're monsters, but they're humans who just look like bears. But yeah, the boyfriend from Midsommar getting burnt. I'm gonna go animated. I'm gonna do Mordu from Brave because of all the bears we've talked about, maybe aside from the screaming bear, if you look at Mordu in Brave, the thing has like the red eye, the yellow eye. It's scarred. It has spears in it. It's like jet black and just looks like it's been beaten into like just stabbed and shot and hunted, and it's still around murdering people, but it's just beaten up and has all the battle scars. It looks like the sharks from 47 meters down too. So I'm going to do Mordu from Brave because it just looks so cool.
I haven't seen that movie, so I'm going to have to trust you on that one.
There's so many bears in that film, man. So many bears.
I'm going to do this. I understand this is like it's a good bear, but I'll explain. I'm going to do the bear from the Golden Compass.
Oh.
Because the bear wears armor, and it terrifies me. Like the idea of a smart bear wearing armor terrifies me. So that's why I'm picking that one.
Because there's the good ones who fight with the good people, and then the bad ones.
Yeah.
Oh, bear with armor. That'd be a nightmare. All right, so then I'm gonna stick with the theme we're going, and I'm gonna go Day of the Animals, the bear that Leslie Nielsen fights after he's gone insane, because the bear gets progressively smaller, and at the end of it, you see a guy wrestling with like an adolescent bear. But watching Leslie Nielsen square up on a bear is one of my favorite things ever. So that's gonna be my pick.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna discuss this one. I have two things written down we can go with. The first is The Revenant. And I feel like The Revenant is probably the right pick, but I don't want to discount the next one. The next one is the Spirit Bear from the New Mutants.
I've never seen the New Mutants.
You're a lucky person. It's rough. It could have been awesome, actually. I think it could have been really good, but it got destroyed in editing. You know what? I think as someone who does the Oscars, I have to go with The Revenant because of DiCaprio won his Oscar for this.
Yeah, it's an Oscar
The
bear.
Revenant. Yeah, and it's a pretty brutal scene. Like we're talking, like it goes on and on and on. It shows the power of bears in a way that Grizzly did not.
No, not at all. So let's see, how many do we have now? We have Homerton, we have Bart the Bear, we have The Edge, Jackass Forever, Mordu, The Revenant, Day of the Animals. We have Golden Compass, The Boyfriend from Midsommar, and Wicker Man Bear.
All right, so if we're shortening this list to 5, I'm going with definitely.
I'm gonna. If you want to do, did you want to do 7?
Or do you want to do 7? I could probably come up with 2 more.
Let's do one more because I want to include the Swiss Army Man bear.
Okay.
Because
that's 6.
They wanted to do CGI, but then they couldn't, and then they wanted to get an animatronic bear, but a guy in Pennsylvania who has one was like, nah. He's like, I don't like all the poop jokes. So then they got a cool bear. They said Tag the bear did a great job. He didn't need CG. He's just real. He's just a cool little bear. And on set, they just wanted to hug it. So
see, you just want to give those bears a hug.
Yeah. So I had to add that because of the hug thing. But yeah, Swiss Army Man bear is what I'm gonna add.
Okay, so for my 6th one, I'm gonna go with one that isn't on I didn't initially have it on my list, but I think works. Legends of the Fall.
That hurts.
That hurt, yeah.
And another Anthony Hopkins bear movie.
Yeah.
Man, that's brutal, but I like it. So what should we keep? Let's get it down to 5.
Yeah, I mean, I want Nick Cage in a bear suit. That's an obvious one.
Okay, so Nick Cage, Wicker Man bear.
I think the Annihilation Bear is a must because it's so terrifying. It's one of the creepiest things I've ever seen.
I mean, we got to have Revenant or we got to have Bart the Bear in here once. So should we do The Edge?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so we'll do Edge. The Edge. All right, so we have Homerton, we have The Edge, we have Wicker Man, and we still have Jackass Forever, Mordu, The Revenant, Day of the Animals, Golden Compass, Boyfriend from Midsommar, Swiss Army Man, Bear, Legend. Let's do Legends of the Fall because it hits so hard, dude.
Yeah, it hits so hard. Yeah, at the end. Yeah.
Because, come on, you said it to me and my heart sank.
It's a really good movie. It's depressing.
Okay, so we have. Okay, what do you think? Either Revenant or Jackass Forever. What do you think?
So, I think in the world of bear attack movies,
or more
Revenant is the right choice. Yeah. I think the Jackass Bear moment is probably more entertaining, but it doesn't hit the right note that we're trying to set with the list.
And also, remember the publicity around it that the bear raped DiCaprio? Remember that was actually a thing where websites were talking about that?
I don't remember that at all.
Oh, I mean, I'm not saying type it in, but that was the thing that was going around. I think like Breitbart or somebody said that was going to happen in the movie. So there's tons of articles about it. They thought that was actually going to happen. But I love our crew. Homerton the Screaming Bear, the Bear from the Edge, the Revenant, Wicker Man Bear, and Legends of the Fall.
Solid list. Very solid list. Yeah.
I love it. That's perfect. Well, this was good, man. Thank you so much for joining me. And anything you want to plug before we get out of here?
Just this podcast.
You got it?
Keep listening to this podcast. Can't wait to keep doing this. I have an episode upcoming on Award Wieners that's going to be Blade versus oh my God, I just forgot. Blade versus Ghost Rider. We're doing a throwback superhero episode. It was a lot of fun to record. I got to revisit all of these movies. I'm convinced in the right hands that Ghost Rider movie could have been a lot bigger than it was. And I mean, it made a decent amount of money too, but it could have been like pretty awesome. Though I'm less convinced that Cage is the right person to do that movie.
Yeah, that movie just felt kind of flat to me. I wish it could have been more, but it wasn't. But I'm still happy it happened, and it made tons of money. But yeah, I had to watch it recently because I watched all 99 Nick Cage films to see what happens when he wears a sleeveless shirt, a leather jacket, a Henley, or a suit. And I have some very fun data, which you can go to Movies, Films, and Flicks and find. There might even be an episode about it by the time you listen to this. So
yeah, and so Mark, what's next up for us? I mean, we should probably do 2 things, right? Like
Joe Dante's. Malignant will be released, so go back and listen to Malignant, and then we got to do Piranha, Joe Dante's Piranha, which is widely considered to be one of the best Jaws knockoffs out there.
Yeah, I haven't watched it. I'm pretty excited for it. It's one of those movies that's always been on the back of my list, but I just haven't got to because a million movies come out a year and you're trying to keep up with what's current pop culture.
I mean, I bought the DVD, so I'm really excited to hear Joe Dante commentary. Like, I love his commentaries, so it's gonna be good. It's gonna be real good.
Awesome.
All right, well, hey, thank you so much for joining me, David.
Thanks, Mark. This is a good time.
All right, so for me, Mark Hoffmeyer, for David Cross, this is Movie Stones and Flicks. We'll see you next week.